Suppose that unknown to you, the symbols passed into the room are called questions by the people outside of the room, and these symbols passed outside the room by you are called answers to the questions. Suppose, furthermore, that the programmers are so good at programming these answers, and you got so good at manipulating the symbols that all of your answers are indistinguishable, even from a native Chinese speaker. There you are, locked in your room, shuffling your Chinese symbols, passing out Chinese symbols in response to other Chinese symbols. On the basis of the situation, as being described, there's no way you can learn Chinese simply by manipulating these formal symbols. Now, the point of this story is simply this. By virtue of implementing a formal computer program, the point of the view outside the observer, of an outside observer, you behave exactly as if you understand Chinese. But all the same, you don't actually understand a word of Chinese. That's the whole point of the objection against the argument given by naturalists that computers will soon give rise to consciousness, is that the computers will never understand a word of Chinese, but only be programmed to spit out answers, even if they resemble totally human answers. John Searle, he concludes, that after the story, if you go through the appropriate computer program for understanding Chinese, it is not enough to give you an understanding of Chinese, and it is not enough to give other digital computer an understanding of Chinese. Computers can really only manipulate understanding through syntax, but not do semantics, and that's the big difference, and that's where the problem lies in this objection against a theistic explanation. This is because objects such as computers, circuits, and wires can't be about anything. That they don't have mental capabilities. Even no matter how good computers get at this, they'll never be conscious, because manipulating syntax is not what being conscious or self-aware is all about. Another argument from physicalists comes from recent research in the brain's visual cortex. In these studies, scientists have been able to map what subjects actually see using magnetism. Scientists are able to recreate mental images using brain scans, using the magnetism of the blood flow in the brain. Their argument is that this blood flow in the brain is what creates the mental state in the mind. However, the researchers are missing the whole point. They're really overestimating the results from their experiments. The way this experiment happens is the fMRI machine sends electromagnetic signals into the brain, and the blood, because there's iron in your blood, the water molecules along with those iron molecules begin spinning inside your brain, and that's what the brain scanner is picking up is those spinning molecules of water and iron. Therefore, it's obvious there's a huge problem in saying that mental states are just spinning water molecules. That there's something more to a mental state than just spinning molecules and atoms. In fact, all this study shows is that there are indeed correlations, which is another case for premise 2 and 3, that there are correlations, and that the correlations aren't consciousness itself, but just correlations of the consciousness. With many arguments from physicalists and naturalists like this being shut down, again, there's really no good answer from the naturalist side, that the explanation cannot be a naturally scientific one, that the mind is more than just stuff. Jae-Gwon Kim observes that if a whole system of phenomena that are prima facie do not among basic physical phenomena resist physical explanation, especially if we don't even know where or how to begin. It'd be time to re-examine one's physicalist commitments. And I think Kim is right that if there's not a natural scientific one, then explanation for these correlations, then then the conclusion in number 7 rightly follows that therefore the explanation is a personal one. And in subsequent sequence, number 8, if the explanation is personal, then it must be theistic. This jump is because if there's consciousness, then the source of consciousness cannot be material itself. It must be immaterial, and so that brings us to an eternal source of consciousness, or a powerful unembodied mind that is the creator, or the giver of all other consciousness, where all other consciousness this derives its existence. And finally, the conclusion, therefore, the explanation is theistic, and God exists. Thank you.